Ella walked into the restaurant Le Fleur with the air of a queen condescending to the common people. Her white Valentino dress flowed behind her like a comet's train, and her diamond necklace sparkled in the dim light of the establishment. She was used to being looked at, to being discussed, to being envied, and she loved it. Ella adored the theater, and life, from her point of view, was a huge stage on which she was the main actress. Le Fleur was one of the most expensive and prestigious restaurants in the city. Ella knew this, so she chose it for her next performance. She loved good restaurants, but she loved making big money even more. Her table, as always, was the best, by the window overlooking the twinkling city. Ella ordered the most expensive dish on the menu, sea breeze, an exquisite combination of seafood seasoned with truffle oil. Katya, a young waitress with big naive eyes, took the order with a little trepidation. It is always exciting to serve such customers. When the sea breeze was served, Ella picked up her fork, took a demonstrative sip of wine, and as if by accident scooped up the contents of her plate. Suddenly her face twisted into a grimace of disgust, and anger flashed in her eyes. "What is this?" Her voice, usually soft and velvety, rose to a shrill note. Katya ran up to the table, looking at Ella in fear. "Is everything all right, ma'am? Are you okay?" Ella roared, spitting something from her plate onto the snow-white tablecloth. "It's glass. There's glass in my food. Are you trying to kill me?" The maître d' rushed to the table, then the manager, then the owner of the restaurant himself, Monsieur Duval, a man with an impeccable reputation and grey temples. Everyone was shocked, confused, and interrupted each other with apologies. "It's incredible, ma'am," babbled Monsieur Duval, growing paler with each passing second. "We'll investigate. We'll get to the bottom of it." "An investigation?" Ella sobbed theatrically, taking a silk handkerchief from her purse to blot away non-existent tears. "I could have died. I'll sue you. I'll close this eatery of yours." With these words she stood up, holding her head high, and like an enraged fury left the restaurant. Katya watched her go, feeling a vague suspicion growing in her chest. Something in this hysteria seemed unnatural, feigned. As if this lady had been waiting for this moment. Good day. Write in the comments what city or country you are from. Support the video with a like and a subscription. Monsieur Duval was in despair. The scandal with the millionairess who had sued his restaurant could destroy everything he had built over the years. Le Fleur was his brainchild, his pride, his passion. He had invested all his money, all his strength, all his soul in it. And now some capricious rich woman, in his opinion, could take it all away from him because of some accident. Monsieur Duval's lawyer, a cunning and experienced old man, advised him to try to negotiate with Ella outside of court. "Money is what people like that want," he said cynically. "Offer her compensation, reasonable compensation." Monsieur Duval agreed, albeit reluctantly. He did not like to pay for something he had not done, but the reputation of Le Fleur was more important to him. Through a lawyer, Ella was offered a generous settlement, but Ella did not agree. She wanted $1 million. $1 million? Well, Monsieur Duval was furious. "But I don't have that kind of money. I have a good restaurant, but to open it, I got into debt myself." The lawyer shrugged. "What can I say, Monsieur Duval? This lady knows her worth." "Either you pay, or she will ruin you." Monsieur Duval was at a dead end. He didn't know what to do: sell the restaurant, take out another loan, or take a risk and go to court, hoping for a miracle. Meanwhile, Katya couldn't forget the incident with the glass in the plate. Something about Ella's behavior didn't give her any peace. Everything was too smooth, too theatrical. She decided to conduct her own investigation. In the evening, after work, she approached the manager and asked permission to view the CCTV footage. "Katya, why do you need this?" The manager was surprised. Lawyers and the police deal with this. I just want to make sure that we are not guilty of anything, Katya answered. I want to help Monsieur Duval. The manager, seeing her sincere desire, agreed. Together they watched the CCTV footage from that evening. But unfortunately, Ella's table was in a blind spot where no camera could see. Katya sighed in disappointment. As if she knew there were no cameras there, she muttered, and then it dawned on her. As if she knew. The sentence completed the thought. Ella hadn't chosen this table by chance. She knew where there were no cameras. But how? Katya returned home with heavy thoughts. She needed to find an answer to the question of how Ella found out about the blind spot of the cameras at Le Fleur. She went over all the possible options in her head until her gaze fell on old photos from the restaurant's corporate events. In one of the photos taken a few months ago, she saw a new employee, a waiter named Sergei. He had worked at Le Fleur for only a couple of weeks, but Katya remembered him for his strange behavior. He kept asking about the surveillance cameras, their work schedule, and who had access to them. At the time, she thought it was just curiosity, but now... Katya jumped up from the couch and rushed to the computer. She found Sergei's profile on social networks. There were only a few photos on his page, but one of them caught her attention. In the photo, Sergei was captured in another restaurant, also quite prestigious. Katya remembered hearing that this restaurant had recently sued some lady who found shards of glass in her food. Katya's heart began to pound. Was Sergei Ella's accomplice? Were they really engaged in extortion together, arranging incidents with glass in restaurants? She needed to test her guess. She wrote a message to her friend who works in the police and asked him to find out everything he could about Sergei. Meanwhile, Sergei, feeling like he was being watched, went into hiding. He turned off his phone, deleted his social media accounts, and moved. He knew Ella was in trouble, and he didn't want to be around when it all went down. Ella, on the other hand, felt completely safe. She was sure that Monsieur Duval would pay her $1 million just to avoid a scandal and preserve the reputation of his restaurant. She was already imagining how she would spend this money on a new diamond and a trip to the Maldives. She had no idea that Katya was already digging under her and that her small but profitable empire was about to collapse. 2 days later, Katya received a call from a police officer she knew. "I have some information for you about your Sergei," he said. "He's a real professional." He worked in many restaurants, and every time after he left, strange incidents occurred in these restaurants. Someone found shards of glass in their food, someone found cockroaches, someone found hair. And each time, the restaurants paid compensation to the victims to avoid going to court. "So I was right," Katya whispered. "Sergei is this Ella's accomplice. They're extorting together." "It looks like it," the policeman agreed. "We're looking for him now, but he's disappeared into thin air." "I know how to find him," Katya said. "He can't stay long without Ella." "They'll probably get in touch with each other." Katya suggested that the policeman set up an ambush near Ella's house. She was sure that Sergei would try to contact her sooner or later. The police agreed. They set up 24-hour surveillance of Ella's house. Several days passed. Sergei did not appear. Ella lived her normal life, went shopping, visited beauty salons, dined in restaurants. She behaved as if nothing had happened. Katya began to lose hope. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe Sergei and Ella really weren't related. But one fine day, when Katya was about to give up, what she had been waiting for happened. A black car stopped near Ella's house. A man wearing dark glasses and a hat pulled down over his eyes got out. He looked around and quickly headed toward the entrance. Katya recognized him. It was Sergei. The police jumped out of the ambush and surrounded Sergei. He tried to run away, but it was too late. They grabbed him and put handcuffs on him. Ella, seeing what was happening, tried to hide in the house, but she was also detained. During a search of Ella's apartment, police found numerous bags containing shards of glass, photographs of the restaurants where she had carried out her scams, and recordings of telephone conversations with Sergei, confirming their criminal. Conspiracy. Ella's empire has collapsed. The trial of Ella and Sergei became loud and resonant. All the newspapers wrote about this story, calling Ella the Queen of Scams and the Glass Lady. During the trial, it was revealed that Ella had been extorting for many years. She had traveled to many countries and made a fortune from it. She chose the most expensive and prestigious restaurants, put shards of glass in her food, and demanded huge sums of money from the owners, threatening them with a lawsuit and loss of reputation. Many restaurant owners who fell victim to her scams were afraid to go to the police, fearing scandal and negative publicity. They preferred to pay Ella just to leave them alone. But Monsieur Duval was different. He was not going to pay the criminal. He decided to fight to the end. Thanks to Katya and her investigation, the police were able to gather enough evidence against Ella and Sergei. They were found guilty of extortion and fraud and sentenced to long prison terms. Monsieur Duval was happy. He had proven his innocence and saved his restaurant from ruin. He thanked Katya for her help and offered her the position of manager of Le Fleur. "You're a real hero, Katya," he said. "You saved my restaurant and my reputation. I'll always be grateful to you." Katya happily accepted Monsieur Duval's offer. She loved Le Fleur and was ready to do everything to make it prosper. And Ella had lost everything: her freedom, her money, her reputation. She found herself in a prison cell, alone and forgotten. Her theatrical life was over. The curtain had fallen. Sometimes it is worth remembering that greed and avarice can lead to a sad end. And that even the most cunning and dodgy criminals sooner or later fall into a trap that they themselves create. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and support with a like. Until next time.